Hi, Cindy Dill here. As promised, I am recording ways to join a yarn. And I have 3 ways to show you. One of them is called the Russian join, which I'll do first. The second one is called the spit splice. And then the last is just start knitting with the yarn. So if you can imagine, you've got a knitted piece and you're at the end of the ball and you need to combine the 2 yarns. So if this were 2 yarns, here's where you'd be joining. So you're going to have to imagine these 2 strands of yarn connected, one to your knitting and the other to a ball. This is called the Russian join. So for this join, you need a tapestry needle. Cross your yarns over like that and kind of pull the yarn through, maybe leaving an inch tail or so. And then you cross your new yarn over the top. Then you take your working yarn, and this strand of thread is at the base of your tapestry needle. This is a worsted weight, 100% non-superwash wool, and this join actually works for most anything. You can use it with cotton, linen, alpaca, wool, silk. The larger the strand, like if it's a worsted, is easier than a fingering weight, but you can do it with a fingering weight. I would recommend a kind of a smaller circumference on your needle, but even then, if you can finagle it, it's fine. So when you untwist the yarns, you see there are in this particular yarn 3 strands. Yeah, 4 strands. So what you're going to be doing is putting your needle in between some of those strands. You're just wrapping and inserting the needle in between the strands. Do it maybe, I don't know, 6-7 times. Then you want to just pull your needle through. I may have pulled it a little, or wrapped it a few more times, but you end up with something like that. This is the part of the strand where your tapestry needle was. So we're going to do the same thing with the new. You may not be able to turn it around, but for these purposes, I'm just going to turn it. Thread your needle. Put the loop that was formed as close to the tapestry needle as you can. Make sure you don't unthread this, and then you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to insert your needle in between the strands a few times, and then pull it through. There you've got a join, pretty strong. This one went all the way through. You're going to end up, when finish your project, and actually after you're done blocking, I would recommend just cutting them then. The drawback of this is that you've got a double thickness of yarn, and that could affect the look of your stitches. Some people, when they do this Russian join, a split, it's harder to make the join, but you can split the yarn, cut off 2 of the plies, and try it that way. But that essentially is the Russian join. Oh. That's why I cut them at the end. Once they're locked in with the knitting, they won't come apart. Okay. The second one is called the spit splice. This is another time that you can actually take a couple of, maybe 2 or 3 inches worth, separate the plies and cut one off, or cut 2 off, or half of them. So if you've got a 3 ply, just cut off 1. This is a 4 ply, so I'm going to cut off 2. Now you don't have to do this cutting. Use this side. You don't have to use the cutting. You'll end up with a double strand like you did last time, but it's okay. Now, this only works with 100% animal fiber, non-superwash, so it will work with wool and alpaca. Anything that felts. So what I'm doing is, instead of spitting on this, which you can do, you can spit, I'm dipping it in the water. Get them nice and wet. If you're not using water, you can actually spit. I'm not going to spit. Align the fibers so that you can see where this one was cut. Try to make that overlap just a little bit on both sides. Put them in the palm of your hand and rub. And what you're doing is causing heat and friction with that wool or the alpaca, anything that felts. The reason this works is that wool has microscopically little tiny barbs. And when you get them wet and add some heat, like in the friction, they felt together. The barbs hook onto each other. And there you've got a join. You want to let it dry. You want to make sure that it's completely, felted. And because you've cut some of the plies, you've got a piece of yarn that's going to be the same thickness. Okay, that is the spit splice. A lot of people use that. The other one, and this is the one that I use most, actually, because it's easy. They're all easy, but I'm going to add a new skein of yarn here. All I'm going to do is insert my needle as if to knit. I'm going to leave about a 4 to 5, 6 inch tail and just start knitting. You want to make sure that you don't use that short tail. You're going to use the long, the strand that is on the ball. That's all there is to it. So what you're going to have at the end are two strands about 6 or so inches long. And I have another video on this so I'm not going to show you how on this video on how to weave in your ends, but I am going to show you on this sweater what it looks like. You can see right here, this is where I have started a new ball of yarn, and there's a hole. It's on the outside too. What you're going to do, and you won't do this until you're done. You can do it before, but you don't have to do it until you're done. You're going to weave these ends in together. And when you weave them together, you're going to weave this one that way and this one that way so it closes up the hole. If you did it this way, the hole would stay. So you're going to cross them over this way. And when you do that, the hole closes up too. Okay, so those are three different ways to join your yarn. I hope that's helpful. Be sure and like my video if you like this tutorial, and subscribe so you can see all the other tutorials that I give. Thanks.